We start the show with action from the quarter-finals of the Carling Cup. Holders Manchester United travel to West Ham, with Sir Alex Ferguson's side overwhelming favourites, having picked up the trophy 3 times in the last 5 seasons, while West Ham have never won the League Cup. The commentary comes from Jonathan Pearce.
Mortar. He's been lively so far. In towards Cole. O'Binner. Deft little chip in, and they do have one this time! And would you believe it? It is Spector this time! Spector. Still going as well. Playing like a man possessed, and it comes to O'Binner. Couldn't get the shot away. Fabio defended well, then slipped. It's Spector again! What a mystery at West Ham United! And it's the Hammers in Spector Clouseau who puts them 2-0 up. O'Binner's crossing over Cole, it's 3-0! West Ham United 3, Manchester United 0. O'Binner plays into Carlton Cole, waiting for support, then turning his man, it's 4! West Ham United 4, Manchester United 0. West Ham are in the semi-finals of the Carling Cup.
It's been 17 years since Arsenal last won the League Cup, and after 5 trophyless seasons, winning the competition this year would be very welcome. Standing in their way first, though, were Wigan. The Latics were struggling once Antolin Alcaraz headed a Theo Walcott corner into his own net just before half-time. And Arsenal rounded off a dominant display with their second goal with just over 20 minutes remaining. Carlos Velo had himself missed earlier chances in this match, turned provider to set up Nicholas Bentner. 2-0 it finished as Arsenal cruised into the semi-finals. Ipswich Town were the Football League's last remaining representatives in the Carling Cup, as they took on West Bromwich Albion. The game couldn't have come sooner for the home side, still smarting from their Derby Day mauling at the weekend by Norwich. The League Cup was the one major honour Roy Keane had failed to win as a player, and he might well have feared that run was set to continue as a manager when his team were denied a penalty after Baggies goalkeeper Bose Myhill brought down Tamas Preskin. But Keane's side were awarded a penalty in the second half, and a controversial one it was too. Graham Dorrans ending the run of Carlos Edwards, and despite Albion's protests that the offence was outside the box, this time the referee awarded in Town's favour. Grant Leadbitter held his nerve to secure a much-deserved win for Ipswich, who make it to their first League Cup semi-final in 9 years. The last quarter-final was a hotly contested West Midlands derby as Birmingham hosted Aston Villa. There was a red-hot atmosphere at a freezing cold St Andrews as the Blues looked to buck a trend that had seen them win just once in their last 10 cup meetings against their local rivals. Birmingham made the perfect start. Lee Bowyer clumsily upended by Richard Dunn for a penalty. Sebastian Larsson stepped up to send Brad Friedel the wrong way to give Birmingham a 12th minute lead. Gabriel Agbon-Lahore had scored the winner on Villa's last 2 visits to St Andrews, and it was the Blues tormentor who equalised on the half hour, this from Jonathan Hogg's through ball. But just as the match looked to be heading into extra time, a Birmingham hero emerged. Serb Nikola Zigic had taken time to settle in the Midlands, but he decided this encounter with 6 minutes to go as he turned in Cameron Jerome's cross to seal a memorable win. Birmingham's reward is a tie against former owners David Sullivan and David Gold as they face West Ham, while Ipswich take on Arsenal. We'll have the best of the Carling Cup semi-final action on the Football League show.
Right, ref! Let's go.
They might be in the Carling Cup semi-finals, but Ipswich had lost their last 4 league games going into this one against Swansea. For their part, the Swans have made a strong recent push into the playoff places. But they were beaten at home last week by Portsmouth. The commentator is John Roeder.
Ledbetter, Edwards. Scotland able to get the turn in. Jason Scotland is through here. What a chance for the Ipswich striker to score against his former team. Doris de Vries might just have got a fingertip to this shot as well. Yes, he has. Edwards with it. Wonderful save from de Vries. That was a magnificent stop. Really had to hurl himself to his left here, the Swansea goalkeeper, to push this one away to safety. Priskin, Edwards, Ledbetter, Colback, Edwards, it's in towards Scotland, Townsend arriving, and Ipswich are in front. Andros Townsend gets his first goal for the club. Ipswich had chances in the first half, couldn't find a way past Doris de Vries, and now they do. Edwards with a pinpoint cross, just too high for Scotland, but Townsend had timed his run to perfection. Swansea with the free kick in towards Beattie! And Craig Beattie has levelled things up. He scored here last season, and he has scored again. And you know, I think he was just about to be substituted. Stephen Dobie waiting to come on. And Craig Beattie, without a goal for over a year, has now scored in 2 successive matches for Swansea. Orlandi. Forward by Sinclair. Andrea Orlandi pulls it back towards Dyer. Shot comes in from close range and it's been put in. Swansea are in front and Joe Allen has put them there. A good build-up on that far side. Orlandi able to pull the ball back. Dyer couldn't get there, but then at the second attempt, as Ipswich failed to clear, Joe Allen was able to stab that ball in. And Ipswich, having led 1-0, now trailed by 2-1. Edwards making the run to his right. Here he is. Quickly closed down by Taylor. Scotland. Carlos Edwards, he's through here, he's down in the area, but no penalty. Ipswich fans can't believe it. Ipswich players can't believe it. Rangel finds Pratley. Beattie going for the top corner. What a goal from Craig Beattie! Ipswich still complaining bitterly about the non-award of what they felt should have been a penalty at the other end. Well, here's the movement. Edwards on the run through. There did appear to be an arm outstretched there across the chest of Carlos Edwards. Swansea were about to make a change. The 4th official there was about to show the board to withdraw Craig Beattie once again. But Beattie here looks up, sees the goalkeeper is off his line and places that shot to absolute perfection in the top corner.
I'm under contract till the summer and I'd love to finish that out. I'd love to try and, you know, we've had difficult few months in terms of decisions like we saw today, injuries, setbacks with our captain, getting sick last night. But having said that, you know, we can't keep making too many excuses. But obviously as the manager I take full responsibility. And if I'm not given that time, I might have probably no one to blame but myself.
With 3 defeats in 5, a nightmare November saw Cardiff surrender the lead in the Championship. What they really needed was a confidence-boosting win to start December. And sure enough, next up was Preston, with the fewest wins and most leaky defence in the division. It might have seemed a mismatch. Preston were without a win in 6. But Michael Tong's free kick found its way through, or perhaps even under, the Cardiff wall, and the visitors were ahead. 1-0 to North End and 64 minutes plus added time to defend that lead. Cardiff had their chances but struggled to make the most of them. Craig Bellamy couldn't get the better of Andy Lonergan after the break. The 90 minutes were actually up when Gabor Guipez met Chris Burke's corner, but Danny Pugh was a hero on the line. Incredibly, there was still time for one more Cardiff chance. It came in the 4th minute of added time when Seyi Olifinjana knocked back Peter Whittingham's cross and Andy Keogh with the late equaliser for Cardiff. More despair for Darren Ferguson's Preston.
Well, disappointed. A lot of disappointed players in my dressing room. I just said to try and pick them up, and obviously there was a lot of positives out of it. But when you're 1-0 up going into the last minute of the game, it's always disappointing when you don't win it.
Things weren't happening, they were getting frustrated. Maybe because of the crowd, edging them to get forward, and you pick out the wrong pass or it doesn't come off. But you've got to give them credit for keep going.
The effort to clear Ellen Road of snow was dubbed Project Buckingham. Get the Palace match on. Get it? Simon Grayson said he wanted to reward everyone for their hard work with a Leeds win. And it looked like the home team had made the perfect start when Johnny Howson went through on goal and found the finish, only to be denied by the assistant's flag. Leeds had a great chance to take the lead when Luciano Becchio failed to control Robert Snodgrass's pass. It fell perfectly for Max Gradle, but he couldn't make the most of it. Palace have been on a good run recently, so it shouldn't have been such a shock when they went ahead on the stroke of half-time, Nathaniel Klein setting up Neil Dans. Palace had made use of the David Beckham Academy in south-east London to prepare for this match, and this Beckham-like free kick from Darren Ambrose forced Kasper Schmeichel into a fine save. The majority of the 25,000 who had braved the elements were starting to get frustrated, as was striker Becchio when he was foiled by fellow Argentine Julian Speroni. It was an open match with both teams making chances, but the Eagles held on to that slim lead until the final 9 minutes. Becchio in the right place to level for Leeds. The momentum was now with the hosts, and just 2 minutes later, Becchio found himself in a great position once again. And a 10th league goal of the season for him ensured a dramatic late win for Leeds.
Things weren't going for us. We made a couple of substitutions and change of system into the team. And once we got that goal, there was a certain buzz around the ground that there was a belief that we'd go on and win the game, and obviously that's how it panned out.
We needed the second goal to finish it off. You could see that the crowd were right behind Leeds. They were really pushing them forward and putting us under pressure.
Leicester were 10 points and 18 positions behind Watford when Sven-Göran Eriksson took charge at the beginning of October. It probably says as much about the Hornets' dive as the Foxes' rise that they went into this game a point ahead of the hosts. Leicester were looking for a 5th win in 7, but were stunned inside a quarter of an hour by John Eustace. In contrast, Watford were without a win in 7 going into this one, but halfway through the first half they were gifted a second. Chris Wheel made a mess of the clearance and Will Buckley was the grateful recipient. So a golden chance for the Golden Boys to end their barren run. But 5 minutes into the second half, Andrew Taylor was penalised for handling the ball, and it gifted Leicester a perfect opportunity to get back into the game. Paul Gallagher's emphatic penalty did just that. The Hornets were hanging on, and 20 minutes later, Gallagher fancied his chances from a little further out. Scott Loach couldn't keep it out, and Leicester were level. So, to complete the turnaround, the Foxes needed another, but the hosts had other ideas. With just 5 minutes left, Jordan Much sent in the cross, and Danny Graham headed in a dramatic Watford winner.
We shouldn't concede the 2 first goals in that way. I mean, that's it's too easy for them. And then we have to fight, come back, and to be honest and fair to our players. They came back very well and played very good football second half.
We did feel that today we could go on and win the game. You know, it was 2-2 and you either then settle for the point or decide to go for it. You know, I felt that we should go for it.
Despite being second bottom in the table, it was Middlesbrough who had the better of the early chances, Julio Arca going close midway through the first half. In fact, Borough have only scored 4 league goals away from home all season, the lowest in the Championship. But they were presented with a gilt-edged chance to add to that when Nathan Cameron fouled Leroy Lita. Lita elected to take the penalty himself, but he couldn't get the better of Kieran Westwood, nor the bar. Both games between these two sides were drawn last year, and it looked like the points would be shared in this one as well, until Matthew Bates took out Gary McSheffrey with just 12 minutes to play. Marlon King's last league goal was scored for Middlesbrough over a year and a half ago, but he made the most of the opportunity to win the game for the Sky Blues.
Still to come, a meeting of two struggling sides as Millwall take on Scunthorpe. And it's a clash between the upwardly mobile Derby and Norwich.